There's something so nice that is developing today. Is called self-reservation. And the basic point of self-reservation is where man decide to look at his environment and say, I think to avoid many things, let me get back to myself, my own world. But there's something bad about the self-reservation.
What's that?
And the thing is, what we are trying to do is to avoid evil, but we are not doing any good. It's a basic story, a good story of avoiding evil, but you're not doing any good. That we call retrogressive freedom.
Growth is one of the distinguishing qualities of the human race. There's always that inward craving to become a better person as time goes by. Here is a show on peer mentorship that focuses on personal growth, whose positive effects will be manifested in the societies and communities where these people and individuals stay. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome to yet another episode of Growth of Learning. IHNDY is the series and Sam is my name. I'm your host. Now, this is a very familiar face to you, I'm sure, if you are a faithful follower of this channel. And last time we spoke about emotional intelligence. Kama hujaangalia, nitaweka link in description hapa juu, utaiona. Please click there. Let's learn about emotional intelligence. Today we are here to talk about how we are going to live with people, because man is a social being. We live in a context with people, and we want to know how to maneuver about all that. So there is one person who hasn't seen you. He's seeing this video for the first time. Just a brief description of who you are and what you do.
My name is Wekesa Wafula, and by and large I'm a reader. And from the many things that I interact with, today I'm privileged to share with you another series of intelligence, and this time round it's social intelligence.
Social intelligence. So without wasting time, please just introduce us into this massive sea, because it's quite huge.
For sure, Sam. Me and you, as we go about interacting with the world, we realize that if today you take a break and check your WhatsApp statuses, somebody somewhere is complaining about someone who did this and this to this. Somebody's talking about some friend who was not there for him or her, and you realize that there's a lot of complaints about the other person. We are trying to find formulas of who is a good friend, know your good friend, know your enemies are around you, there are those people, such kind of discussions. If you ask me, this is where the point is, that it's time we change the narrative, we change the conversation, and train ourselves in something, in this noble cause of social intelligence. Social intelligence is a series that first was developed by Daniel Goleman, and many neuroscientists are getting into it. Last time we talked about emotional intelligence, I hope you remember. And in emotional intelligence, the number of key qualities of emotional intelligence was: one was self-awareness, two was self-regulation, we had motivation, then the fourth one and the fifth one was empathy and social skills. You must have realized something, that the first three are about internal issues, is about your intrapersonal relationship, and then the last two, that is empathy and social skills, is about getting outside yourself. That is the external world that we interact with. Daniel Goleman does something amazing, and I mean this sensational about him, that he takes these two last points and develops something called social intelligence. Remember, empathy is something that is dealing with the other person. Remember, social skills is an invitation to interact with other people. And from there, we get that social intelligence.
For somebody who is still trying to understand the difference between social intelligence and emotional intelligence, what will be your answer?
Emotional intelligence, as we discussed last time, is the ability of a person to get to know about himself, your emotions. You develop them, and it should see, at the end of it all, it should help you in interaction with the other people. Social intelligence does something almost similar to that. And the similarity here is that you have to understand yourself. It's the ability of a person to understand himself or herself. Then after understanding yourself, you are able to also understand other people. That is getting even to understand other people's intentions intelligently, and after knowing their intentions, there's something we do with that. We get into profound communications, profound interactions with them. So it's the ability of a person, one, to understand himself. Then after understanding of yourself, you get outside yourself, you understand others within their social context, within their social conditions, within their social environments, and then after that, we can get into good communications. At this time, probably I should say this, you have heard people saying, you know, the first time we met at first sight, when we met, damu yetu iliingiana. Probably
Instant chemistry.
Yeah, instant chemistry. Another person will say, you see, the first time we met, well, I think that was it. That was a total shutdown. And I think it's because of such chemistries, very neuroscientific, yeah, that Daniel Goleman sees something in this, and he says people can easily get into profound relationships after such kind of interactions. And so I think this is where the interaction comes in, and it just builds it from emotional intelligence, and that's why we are saying it's a series. Understanding emotional intelligence helps you to understand social intelligence, and I think it makes life to be more important.
Okay, now before we get to the the relevance of social intelligence and how important it is in our day-to-day life, let me just say this. Last time we were talking about, remember the quote from Derek Banga, that IQ gets you hired and EQ gets you promoted.
For sure.
So I was reading this book by Bill Hybels, Courageous Leadership, and he says that when he's going to scout out for the team that will work for him, he uses 3 C's as a criterion. The first C is character, the second C is competence, and the third C is chemistry. So character, he says, Apo, he never compromises. If your character is bad, however competent you are, you can't work for it. Yeah. And then competence, when it comes to competence, he shoots for the moon. He wants to get the best. Then now the deal breaker is always chemistry. If there is no chemistry between you and the rest of the teammates, that's it.
It's a done deal.
However competent you are, however good your character is if there's no chemistry, I think what we'll call social intelligence, that's it.
For sure.
We have school, we have work, we have the communities and societies where we stay. How is social intelligence relevant there?
Our world today, me and you probably have had experiences where we are seeing our fellow brothers and sisters getting into social form of isolations. We are seeing lots of depressions today. We are seeing people getting into self-absorption. You get back to yourself, to real touch of yourself. The entire world doesn't exist for you. There's something so nice that is developing today. It's called self-reservation. And the basic point of self-reservation is where man decide to look at his environment and say, I think to avoid many things, let me get back to myself and my own world. But there's something bad about the self-reservation. What we are trying to do is to avoid evil, but we are not doing any good. It's a basic story, a good story of avoiding evil, but you're not doing any good. That we call retrogressive freedom, that we want to enjoy being in touch within our own environment. It doesn't bother me, well, I'm okay, as long as we're at peace with, we no longer take courage even to get connected to other people. So we shut the entire world. We raise up walls for other people.
Just to cut you short, as you say, it's true. A lot of people, especially in our generation, are getting into self-absorption, and sometimes the intention is actually progressive growth, as they claim, in the sense that if you walk with the crowd, hamtafika mbali, but if you walk alone, you'll actually reach far. You find yourself in an environment where things are really not on your favor to grow, so you just exclude yourself. What will be your advice to people who do that in respect to social intelligence?
Sure. There's something we do to ourselves. Lacking that courage to get out of ourselves in the name of self-absorption leads us by and large to self-obsession. We'll always think of the world the way our minds are structured, the way we want to look at things. probably that blinds us, the blindness of not seeing the good in the other people. At the end of the day, you love to get out, you love to get into school, you love to get into work and whatever things that you have to interact with in the normal world. And there you have to find people. So if you are only that guy of one man, one job, in the sense of one man show, that whatever you believe in is whatever thing that works in, you might fail to really, people will push you away, because look, you are in your own world, you're not getting this, you are not ready even to work within the conveniences of other people, because
you're not a team player.
And you're not a team player. In a world today that we are thinking of team players, people want to people who easily connects with others and help the team to move to the next level. I think that's what it does to us, self-obsession, and that destroys our relationships by and large in our interactions with the other people. Another thing that these poor social intelligence skills will do to us, I think, is the belief and the mentality of knowing it all. The knowing it all mentality will come in when I've gotten into touch with myself, and when you know you are the know-it-all, Mr. Know-it-all. I think any other person's opinion and wouldn't matter so much to you. And one thing that social intelligence, if you read much about social intelligence, does is trying to sensitize people on sensitivity of other people's opinion, respecting other people's opinion, what they think about some stuff. And maybe social intelligence invites us always and always to ask the question of, what do you think about this? Getting into the social context and conditioning of people, and looking at the world the way they are looking at it, and being able to manufacture something, create something that is of convenience. I'm not asking you to say to compromise your values, your belief system, but trying to find convenience, convenient points of interaction, points of convergency with other people that will help in building up a system that is workable for each one of us.
Let's talk about something that could have come up a little bit earlier. What are the basic tenets of social intelligence?
For sure. I think here we are. The basic tenets are, remember, emotional intelligence, we had 5 of them. In social intelligence, numerous people, numerous authors and say neuroscientists have numerous ideas about this. But of my concern, or of our discussion here, like we share something, 3 of them, and one of them is empathic accuracy. Empathy, remember we talked about empathy from Daniel Goleman, and this time he just developed something called empathic accuracy. Empathic accuracy is where we are getting into somebody's world, getting into your context and say, look, you are a bereaved guy, and I need to understand what you are feeling. I need to get what is it that Nabula is feeling, and then from what Nabula is feeling, I ask, why is he feeling the way he's feeling? Getting into that world, that will mean something. It will mean having an interest in knowing the emotions of this person, where it's coming from, and from there you can form discussions around it that is meaningful. We don't want to get into a person who is hurting, somebody who is struggling with something, and you want to make it more and more bitter and more bad. That will be being insensitive. So empathic accuracy is something of a concern.
Okay, just put a comma there. There are a number of people, I happen to be one of them, unfortunately, out of circumstance, who believe that empathy is a myth. And the reason they have is that to understand somebody's sorrow, you have to drown in the same waters that actually drowned them. Let's say somebody has lost a job, and that was the only source of income he or she had. And you are here, you have never lost a job. Let's say you grew up in a family that was financially blessed, so you actually just inherited the family business and it's running well. It's a multi-million-dollar company. It's running well. So you're here trying to console, telling this guy it shall be well, without without offering a practical material solution. and they'll just listen to you and say, man, you don't know
don't
what you're
get
talking
this,
about.
yeah.
Yeah. So what can you say about that in light of empathic accuracy and social intelligence?
For sure. I think here we are. This is a real concern. And what I would like to say, I know this works. It works in this way. The logic of imitation is it takes a sinner to understand another sinner, right? It takes a drug addict to understand another drug addict, and that's why for those of us probably who are struggling with these addictions and all that, we form a support group that's only for us, because we tend to believe that we are the only ones who can get it right.
Yeah.
Well, empathy in this case does not mean to come and pretend like I'm really getting what you really going through. For sure, I don't know how you are feeling, what really this means to you. But what I can do instead is, if I can offer an listening ear, that is something. I might sometimes we really don't need to say anything. Sometimes is listening to this person, sharing whatever they share. I've watched stuff, so I've seen people who have called their best friends when they're going through this, and they say, I just want to talk, and just allow me to talk. Then don't say anything, and sometimes they tell us don't say anything because you don't get this, and so you are there just listening, and the only question you might ask is, umemaliza, are you done? I mean, it is funny how it works, but this is it, because we really sometimes don't get it. But we believe of other ways of helping such persons. If we can get ways of getting them into support groups, sustaining them in those rehabilitation centers, if for those who are struggling with drugs, if we can get, for those of us who are believers, prayer is something, it's paramount. If we involve God in the equation, that will be something. We find other ways, alternative ways of helping such persons. For sure, we don't get whatever they go through, but we can find a way of journeying with them. Very altruistic, with no emotional or subjective attachments to it, but just getting to understand what they feel and
helping
them out the way we know.
Okay, before we jump out of the topic, you were talking about basic tenets of
tenets.
Yeah, so that's the first one,
yeah,
emotional accuracy.
Empathic accuracy. Another thing that would like to invite you, this is of Daniel Goleman, and we might need to discuss it, is languaging, our languaging system. And here I've carried a book by this guy called Robin Sharma. Robin Sharma is an amazing, adorable author, scientist, and he brings out something in the book, The Leader Without a Title. You can imagine whatever is happening in your head when you say the leader who has no title. In this book, he addresses the question of languaging. And this means so much to me as a person, that he believes in the system of you can always say whatever you want to say, no matter how bitter you are, no matter how disappointed you are, no matter how joyful you are, you can always say whatever you want to say in a language, in a manner that is understandable, and people will understand that, look, I know we wronged you, you are a bitter man because of whatever happened, you are a disappointed person. You don't need to raise your voice, you don't raise your voice and all that, and get to make the other person even feel more guiltier that, look, for sure nilikosea. So I believe that one of the basic tenets of social intelligence is tied to our language. We know of times when wrong wordings, whatever we have said, have placed us in a mess. It has placed us in a situation that is so bad, irredeemable. We can't redeem ourselves because the person will keep thinking of, unajua, he told me this.
This is what he said. Can you imagine?
I mean, so words is something. Words and the way we say them really means something to many people. And to move to the next tenet will be being sensitive. And sensitivity we can tie to language. Being sensitive with our languaging. Being sensitive with our actions. I think sensitivity is something of our concern today. The world we are living in today is a world of people who are so much into a need of something, a need of love, a need of concern, a little extension of hand, and all that. And so if we just mess up with these little things, we might end up ruining everything. I think at this point is the invitation of Jesus when we are saying, look, it's not good to leave the donkey. It's possible you can leave the donkey in the hall, but take care of a sick person. Take the person to some health or heal the person. We bring humanity to be a priority. The other things might come up later, can't follow, but human beings are of our concern. So for me, if you ask me, the three basic tenets of our social intelligence will be: 1, empathic accuracy; 2, languaging system; and 3, I will be being sensitive. Sensitivity is an issue. And at this point, I think I would like to say that, look, it's not just Daniel Goleman who is talking about social intelligence. He might be an author of a series of social intelligence or intelligence series, but many other scientists are getting into this neuroscientific kind of relationship. They are trying to look at relationships from a new models that is coming up in the world of individualism, the world of communism, and the world that is trying to get into touch with itself, a world of selfishness. Many scientists are coming up with this, and it's something to look also, get into venture what they are saying about this. And if you can manage, get social intelligence from Daniel Goleman, and also if you can read a leader without with no title by this guy Robin Sharma will be something.
Wow, it's always amazing to have you here, man. One final word for the viewers.
For sure. I would like to say this. I'm a strong believer of the fact that the world as we see it today is because it is thriving on second chances.
Wow.
Somebody somewhere for some reason decided to give some people or given us second chance. We might have wronged up somewhere, but the world is saying, look, as Katai, you wronged, but we are giving you another chance to live. Why can you not extend that hand to somebody else? I would like to say that points when we have to own up to say sorry, let's say sorry. A sorry changes a number of things. Points when we have to tell somebody thank you, that will be something. Points when we know we have to extend hands. There are a number of people who have worked in the scenes and behind the scenes to make sure that we are wherever we are. Social intelligence in its uniqueness and in its immensity will be if we can extend the same hand to other people to get wherever we are. That will be something. Let us not shut people out of it. Let us not give up on people. For sure the world is giving up on each other. We are in a world where we are giving up on each other because he screwed once. And we are saying the possibility of him screwing up the second time is not zero. But look, let's turn it the other way around. What if the possibility of him not screwing up is actually, there's no possibility of him screwing up? Like, people grow. We have made mistakes, but here we are. People have allowed us, say, Jeff, come on, you can try to once again. It says, look, Mokeira, we know you might have messed up here, but you can try once again. I mean, this is what social interactions, social conditionings, social environments, that when we can create such social environments, people can grow and we can all get somewhere. My catch word will be building up relationships that are inclusive in nature. I want to think of a future where you belong, where I belong, where you belong. Inclusive relationships, inclusive success, inclusive, amazing, adorable moments. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Speaking from your final statement, you know, a world where everybody is inclusive. There is a powerful talk by some lady called McKenna Njeri about that, on how, you know, organizations, companies, institutions, schools can foster an environment where everybody feels inclusive. And once that is done, then marketing is not needed. I highly recommend you check that up. Now, I think you are cut out to be a psychologist. Whether I'm right or wrong, that's entirely up to me. But I think, you know, whatever is coming out of you, man, it's very, you know, it's very inspirational, sensational, and pedagogical. You know, I'm sure lots of people will want to see you back here again for another series on intelligence. And when that time comes, I am more than sure more than convinced that you'll be willing to come back and talk to us.
For sure.
Asante sana. I really wish you all the best in your endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Asante sana. Remember to like, subscribe, comment. Tell us what you think about what he has said. And we'll be happy to interact with you and improve on our channel, because come on, we want to grow, we want to learn. That's what we do. Thank you so much and stay blessed.